Is Invisible Woman the best support character in Marvel Rivals? That is a question everyone is going to be asking as Season 1 has officially started. That or some, other questions. With the game already having a ton of characters to pick from, can the newest healer and support stand with the greats like Luna Snow, Mantis, and of course, everyone's favorite menace, Jeff the Landshark? Well, we here at Direct Gaming have the perfect guide for you on how to learn the basics and get good with Invisible Woman. As always though, if you have any tips yourself or are watching this later on in the future and things have changed, leave a comment down below so we can help the entire community out and learn what the new strats are going to be. Alright, let's get started. Now this video is going to be broken down into 3 parts: an overview of all of her moves and abilities, some strats to use while playing certain game modes, and finally, why you should pick this character over the other characters in the same category and what they bring to the battlefield. Let's start with her abilities, movement, and how this character simply plays. Shitstorm here may look like a dagger from the back, but she is much more agile than you might think. And while I usually like to start these videos on the basic attacks, I first want to take this section to go over her jump and her passive ability. Now, as you might expect, Sue can actually go invisible, hence her name, the Invisible Woman. But this is not like other games where you're technically invisible, but you can kind of see the outline of the characters. No, this is full invisibility. This is a passive ability which will activate after about 6 seconds, give or take, if you do not attack or use any of your moves. While invisible, you will actually be granted healing over time and enemies cannot see, like I mentioned beforehand. Now, if you do anything like attack, provide shields to allies, or anything that is not jumping or reloading, you will become visible. If you get hit by any stray projectile, you will also become invisible. So don't try to be a second-rate Psylocke main thinking that you can take on a tank or DPS, flank the enemies, and then simply disappear super fast. That's not how to play this character. Along with her passive comes her double jump. The first jump is going to be normal like you have on literally every single character. It's her second jump though that is very special here. When you activate this second jump, not only will you be able to move in any direction that you might have the controller or mouse pointed in, but you will also turn you invisible. Again, as long as you don't try to shoot or do any of your abilities during said jump. Now, this second jump does have a cooldown, but damn if it's not one of the best jumps in the game. Not because it's going to get you everywhere on the map that you want to go or has the longest range or anything like that, but the fact that it simply allows you to disappear and play absolute mind games with the enemies who might be trying to pursue you. Add on top of that the passive healing that you get the longer you stay invisible, and you can start to see the potential with this character. I'll get into more details and strats in the second part of the video when it comes to her jump, but just know that I absolutely love this ability. Moving on, we have Sue's basic attack called the Orb Projection, which is basically a healing and damage boomerang. This projectile will travel straight forward about 30 meters and then return to you. So if you're in the back line of, say, push, for example, you can heal your allies in front of you, hit the enemy that happens to be in front of them, and then also heal your allies as the attack returns to you. You have 10 shots before you have to reload, but sometimes it might feel like you have 20 since you're basically doing double heals and damage, depending if you're in a particular situation. Guardian Shield is your other input. This will deploy a shield with 300 health at your ally's location. It is stationary though, so it's not going to stick to them and move around as they do. Not only will the shield protect them though, but it will also heal them. In fact, it will heal you as well and other allies that happen to be near it. Finally, if an enemy happens to run through said shield, it will apply slow to them, which is pretty nice. This can also be redeployed without having any type of cooldown as long as the health of the shield does not reach 0. If it does, you're going to have to wait for the thing to recharge until you can use it again. Cyanic Vortex may look like a simple projectile, but you actually have a lot of control over it. You can fire it off, and then if you press the same attack button, you'll actually activate the attack sooner as long as it doesn't make contact with anything or someone. We'll get into more details of this particular attack in part 2, but just know that this thing is really good, especially with groups of enemies together. Agile Strike is your 3-hit melee combo where the third hit can actually launch enemies. This third hit can actually be held for a short time after you use your second one, so keep that in mind if you're trying to deal with an annoying DPS character trying to attack you in the back lines. Another ability that you have is called Force Physics, where you basically have the choice to either push enemies away or pull them towards you. It does deal a small bit of damage, but don't try to rely on this thing for actually taking out enemies. As you might guess though, this is going to be very helpful for playing mind games with getting enemies either off points by blasting them or pulling them towards you with your allies as you try to double team them. Also keep in mind that this thing, when you push them, does push a very good distance. So if you happen to see someone kind of near the edge of the map, yeah, have some fun. Final move to go over is for her ultimate, which creates a giant barrier-like dome that makes your allies invisible, heals them, and lasts for about 10 seconds. And yes, by the way, it does heal you. Keep in mind though that even though I use the word barrier, since let's be honest, that's what it looks like, attacks and enemies can still go through what looks like the wall. They will just not be able to see you or your allies. So if you get hit by something, you'll still take damage, which gives your enemies a hit indicator, meaning that if they're smart enough, they will know exactly where you are. So make sure you're moving around when you launch this, or if you happen to see an invisible woman ally, use this ability for you. Finally, our team up ability at the time of this recording is for all the Fantastic Four characters. However, because Mr. Fantastic at this particular moment in time is only available, it only works with him. So when the Human Torch and the Thing become available, this will also work for them, but we don't know the exact details just yet. This passive ability basically provides him with extra healing over time after he's taken some damage. You'll probably see this a decent amount as Season 1 is in its high right now, but as more seasons come out or other characters get changes, you might not see Mr. Fantastic out on the field as much as you might now, unless he gets really popular among the majority of players. So keep that in mind right here, but as I've said in other videos, when it comes to these passive and team up abilities, don't try to rely on them too much unless you know it's a character that is always on the team regardless. Okay, so that's all of Sue's moves and abilities. Let's get into some game modes and strats to use when playing as Sue. Now, as we mentioned in our before you play video that you see here on screen, your main mode you're going to be playing is Quick Play, which consists of capture the objective and move the payload. Here are some things you should be doing while playing both of those game modes. Try using your Guardian Shield for your allies who are on the front lines. That way they can get healing and others who happen to push up with them will as well. Or if you're playing the payload game mode, you can throw it onto your first ally, and as the payload continues to move as your allies push forward with it, they'll also gain some healing as well. And of course, like we mentioned beforehand, make sure you're constantly moving it around, unless of course the 300 health of it goes away, then you've got to wait. Don't just keep it in one spot forever. You can also combine this with your basic attacks for extra healing, thus keeping your teammates alive a lot longer than some of the other healers might. One of the big ones we talked about at the beginning of the first part of the video was using your double jump. Absolutely 100% use your double jump to get away from tricky situations. Just remember to not hit the attack button as you're about to use your second jump, otherwise you will not be invisible at all. Also, don't use the fact that you are invisible to try flanking and taking out enemies. The only time I would even come close to recommending this is if your team is absolutely destroying the opposite team and you happen to see an enemy near the ledge. Then you go have some fun. Your double jump should be a reason to get away from the enemies and give yourself a breather real quick. Then after you've healed up, if you have to wait for your allies to come to you, simply stay invisible. If everyone's still alive, jump back into the action and try healing from the back line. Combining that with your shields will help your team out a lot. Another strat you should be trying is not to directly aim your vortex at enemies. This thing doesn't move particularly fast, so I do not recommend it at all. Try to throw it into an objective, both either capture points or the payload, or throw it into an area you know enemies are going to be coming into and manually activate it by pressing the button again. That way you know it's going to drag your enemies in and deal damage to them. If your allies are smart and they see this happening, they will also apply pressure with their own attacks, and you can take people down no problem because this attack actually slowly draws people in if they're not moving against it. Using the physic ability, which is pushing or pulling enemies, is all going to be about strategy over time. If you see an enemy near a ledge, well, you know exactly what you should be doing. Get ready and fire that thing right away to push them off of the cliff. You can get some good distance with the move itself. Also note that if you press the button to activate it again before you actually use it, then you'll actually cancel out of the move and save yourself a countdown timer. A simple but a good strat is that like most supports, you are squishy, so combining your jumps with your agility will help you stay alive even longer than other support characters might. Don't be afraid to double jump in any direction to simply get away. You really do go invisible like we mentioned beforehand. There's no thin line around your character model, so get used to doing this. I've even stood in a corner for a couple of minutes and no one notices me whatsoever. Also, I know he's probably not the big menace he used to be in Season 0, but Jeff the Lambshark's ultimate, yeah, Sue can easily jump over that thing and get out of the way. You have to time it a little bit and be careful, but regardless, it should work. Or if he does grab you and tries to throw you off the edge, as long as you have your jump, you're able to jump back onto the map, no problem. The final strat I have is kind of a simple but a good one as well, and that is your ultimate is going to be great for not only healing allies, but also you. Now, while you can't survive every single ultimate, there are a good amount of them that you can withstand. For example, Moon Knight, Hela, and others, at least within my testing and online matches that I've seen, but as always though, this can easily change with time. Whether her ult gets nerfed or other ults get more powerful or anything like that is hard to say, but regardless, just keep an eye out for that. The healing alone is always going to be worth it though, not to mention that you turn your allies invisible, and as long as they know what to look for, it should help you out no problem. As with all characters, there's always going to be way more strats to go over as things get discovered over time, but these are the immediate ones that we personally found on the team. Check the pinned comment for more as we discover more moves and strats for this particular character or other comments from the community members as well. Okay, final bit before we wrap up here. Why should you pick Invisible Woman over other supports? Based on my playing over the last 48 hours, she's not the easiest for getting those crazy healing points that you might see on some scoreboards. You can get them, but I find that it's not as consistent as some other characters. So if you're one of those players who really likes to brag that you got the most healing, this character might not be for you. Now, this support is great for helping out the entire team. You can not only plant a shield in front of one of your allies, but it's going to help out your entire team and benefit them with not only healing, but also slowing any enemy who tries to come in your way. The simple fact that your attacks can go through multiple allies to provide healing to everyone is going to help out your team a lot. Your ability to go invisible may look like a solo type of play, but it's going to help you stay alive even if the others die, which will allow you to regroup with your team and take the point a lot faster than if you simply died yourself trying to be the hero. Finally, when you combine your vortex with your teammates' attacks, you can take out whole teams no problem. Oh, and it's already been stated multiple times, but your ult is probably one of the best out of the entire supporters kits, no problem, just with the healing alone, provided that your teammates again actually move around and don't stand in one place. And there we go. There's everything you need to know about the character Sue Storm, aka Invisible Woman in Marvel Rivals. We play here on stream, so if you want to come join us sometime live or give us your thoughts and opinions on the characters themselves, make sure to sub to the channel and join us every weekend. And of course, as always, leave a comment down below on your best tips for the character that you may have discovered yourself or that you've seen someone else do in a match of your own. We will try to heart these and comment as best as we can so that we can help out the entire community. With that being said, though, I've been Talon with Direct Gaming. Thank you so much for checking out the video. I hope you have a great day and week, and I can't wait to see you all in the next one. Until next time, everyone, though, Johnny.